Hello and welcome to VTV News brought to you by VTV International. I am Minh Hằng and here are the headlines at this hour. Vietnamese fishing vessel sunk by Chinese ships returns home safely. And Vietnam responds to World No Tobacco Day 2014. Let's now start with the update on the situation in the EC. As of yesterday, May the 29th, China had a fleet of 122 ships defending the Haiyang Shuyot 981 oil rig that it illegally placed in Vietnam's water, according to the Vietnam Fisheries Surveillance Department. The department reported that together with 4 warships, 41 Coast Guard vessels, 16 tugs, 14 cargo ships, and 47 fishing vessels, China has also sent a reconnaissance plane to flight above the rig. Chinese ships have formed groups of at least 7 to stop Vietnamese fisheries surveillance ships and keep them 10 nautical miles away from the rig, said the department. In addition, a group of up to 45 Chinese fishing vessels was disrupting Vietnamese fishing boats operating in Vietnam's water about 30 nautical miles from the oil rig, the department reported. The Vietnamese ship KN-630 was fired upon with water cannons by a Chinese Coast Guard vessel, seriously damaging its equipment. China is maintaining a group of 4 ships to stand ready to chase, ram, and fire water cannons at Vietnamese vessels, while Chinese fishing vessels continue to use all possible methods, including fishing nets, to disrupt Vietnamese fishery surveillance ships, the department added. Now, the DNA 90152 fishing boat sunk by Chinese ships was towed to shore for repairs on Luzon Islands on Thursday. 10 fishermen who were on board the boat were also safely returned to their homes in Da Nang City late last night. According to the survivors, at 4 p.m. on May the 26th, about 40 Chinese fishing boats surrounded their fishing ships, which hailed from Da Nang in an area about 17 nautical miles south-southwest from the locations of the illegal oil rig Haiyang Shuyot 981. Chinese fishing boat number 11209 rammed into Vietnamese fishing ships DNA 90152 with 10 fishermen on board. The hard hit sank the local ships, while Vietnamese fishing boats operating nearby managed to save all 10 crew members. Now, the fishermen will continue their trip in the traditional fishing grounds near the Hoàng Sa Islands when they recover from the accident, they added. Now, thousands of books have been sent to the soldier stations on the Trường Sa archipelago. Reading is one of the main leisure activities on the islands when the officers and soldiers have finished training and patrolling. Books are set to diversify the soldiers' spiritual lives and provide them with knowledge, making it easier for them to find a job after fulfilling their duties.
Many of the books presented to the officers and soldiers working on islands of the Trường Sa archipelago are recently published. Various publishers on the mainland have donated the books to the soldiers, and they are excited to have something to read.
I like to read books about history, literature, and other subjects.
On large islands, it is not difficult to find a library like this, with thousands of books on a variety of fields. Due to the lack of infrastructure, education on the island has faced a lot of obstacles, so books are a good way of improving the literacy of the inhabitants. The reading facilities come from donations carried out by organizations and individuals on the mainland.
These books contribute to our library. Here the soldiers come in their spare time to read, relax, and educate themselves. I hope that in the future there will be more good books presented to the soldiers. Here, we regularly keep track of the country's events. The soldiers also read books concerning island environment, farming, and marine creatures.
More and more books will be sent from the mainland to the Trường Sa archipelago and other islands in Vietnam's waters to encourage the soldiers here to fulfill their duties.
Important documents affirming Vietnam's sovereignties over the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos have recently been discovered in Thừa Thiên Huế province. In a bid to preserve them for future research, they are being digitized at the provincial library. Phan Thuận An has spent decades researching Huế and also has great enthusiasm for documents about Vietnam's sea and island sovereignty. In May 2009, he introduced an administrative official document from the Vietnamese Nguyen dynasty. Later, An unveiled the second administrative official document in French and Vietnamese. He also discovered the image of Vietnamese sea and island sovereignty carved on 9 dynastic urns in Huế. Recently, his collection of official documents from the Nguyen dynasty, which centers Vietnam's sovereignty over the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos, has been recognized by UNESCO as a documentary heritage of the world. The collection is also an important legal basis for sea and island sovereignty.
Most of these documents are old, so I have already thought about how to preserve them well so that people can have access to them.
Thừa Thiên Huế frequently suffers from flooding and high humidity, so digitization is believed to be the best solution for the preservation of precious documents. For now, Thừa Thiên Huế General Library is utilizing Sino-Gnome digitization software to digitize the documents about the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos. Meanwhile, a search for more similar documents is taking place.
We will continue to meet with researchers in different localities to persuade them to digitize their documents. The harsh weather conditions in Huế may affect the durability of the documents, so digitization is the optimal solution to preserve them.
Many of the documents are highlight Vietnam's sovereignty over the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos have been found in Thừa Thiên Huế province. However, most of them belong to private collectors who do not have the equipment to preserve them. The digitization process is the solution to help future generations have access to the documents and help Vietnam prove its rightful sovereignty over its sea and islands.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
Welcome back to VTV News. Now, the Ministries of Health held a meeting in Hanoi this morning, May the 30th, to talk to the public about the hazards of smoking and call for an increase to tobacco taxes. The meeting was held to mark World No Tobacco Day on May the 31st. Currently, there are about 15.3 million smokers in Vietnam. Tobacco use annually accounts for around 40,000 deaths in the country. The National Strategies on Tobacco Harm Control and Prevention aims to reduce the male smoking rate to 39% by 2020 from nearly 50% at present. Therefore, Vietnam has set a target of increasing the special consumption tax for tobacco from 65% at present to 105% by next year. The 500 kilovolt north-south power transmission lines recently marks its 20th anniversary. For the last 20 years, the transmission line not only is a proof for the development of Vietnam electricity sector, but also plays an important part in making the southeast region a leading economic hub of the country.
Each month, the Visan company requires over 1,000 kilowatts to maintain operations. And thanks to the stable power source provided by the North-South Power Line, the company can reduce its cost, which has contributed towards the company's annual sales increase from 15 to 20%.
20 years ago, every time the power went out, we had to run the power generators. This means that we had to pay for diesel to run these machines, which affected the company's productivity and profits. The stable power supply made us feel more secure and also reduced our costs.
Giàn is just one business out of many thousands that benefit from the power supplied by the 500 kilovolt transmission line. Demand for electricity in the region is quite high, but for the last 20 years, the 500 kilovolt line has met the demand.
In the last 20 years, the 500 kilovolt line has had a great impact on stabilizing the power supply for cities and balancing the electricity flow throughout the country. With the city's industry accounting for 30% of the country's overall industrial output, electricity supply is vital. The 500 kilovolt transmission line is crucial to the city's economic development.
The power line has played a large role in the economic and social development of Vietnam's southeast region. It elevates people's living standard, contributes to social betterment, and also builds trust from foreign investors.
Vietnamese goods fairs will be held in 270 supermarkets and convenience stores of NTUC FairPrice, the leading Singaporean groceries retailer, from May the 29th to June the 11th. The event, which takes place under the cooperations of Saigon Co-op Mart and NTUC FairPrice, was attended by representatives of both Vietnam and Singapore, as well as a large number of customers.
400 Vietnamese products, including coffee, rice, fruit, noodles, seafood, and processed food, are being showcased at the event this year. In his opening speech, Ng Siêu Miang, chairman of NTUC, said the fair is an opportunity to introduce high-quality Vietnamese products to the Singaporean market. Entering the FairPrice supermarkets in 2007, Vietnamese Jasmine's rice now accounts for 20% of the total rice sales at FairPrice. Other agriculture and seafood products from Vietnam also helps diversify FairPrice range of products. Vietnamese products are gaining popularity in Singapore. Every year, we import 350 containers of rice and 120 containers of dragon fruit from Vietnam. Plenty of seafood products are also imported from Vietnam. With a greater demand for Vietnamese products, we are considering diversifying our range of Vietnamese products, which are high quality and reasonably priced. Singapore imports 99% of foodstuff to meet domestic demand, and NTUC FairPrice is the biggest grocery retailer in the country. With the decision to increase the volume of goods imported from Vietnam by 30%, NTUC has opened the door to the country's market.
With a stronger cooperation, I hope that more Vietnamese goods will reach Singaporean market sales, like FairPrice. Both FairPrice and Saigon Co-op Mart are leading two retailers in Vietnam and Singapore, and this would offer them chances to grow together. Also, more Singaporean customers will have access to Vietnamese goods.
NTUC FairPrice set up its cooperation with Saigon Co-op Mart with a $6 million Co-op Extra Plus supermarket in Ho Chi Minh City last May. The fair in Singapore is also a chance for retailers to tighten their cooperation. Vietnam and Singapore established a strategic partnership in 2013, and Singapore is Vietnam's third largest trade partner in ASEAN.
And now it's time we take a look at our updated weather forecast. It is now the end of VTV News. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can always log on to our website at vtv4.vn for more updates. Goodbye for now from Hanoi.